we're back live here on the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Producer Chris, once again, behind the scenes for today's live show. We'll break down everything going on around the Cowboys and preview the game that's just around the corner, Thursday, Thanksgiving, which we will be live for. Give me your one-word reaction to that Cowboys win over the Carolina Panthers. One word only. Solid. Maybe is a good word for it. And there's not really one word that makes it condensed down to did what they were supposed to do. So maybe expected, I guess, is that one word. Great, solid, good, expected, great, solid, sweep, easy, reassuring. Ace, expected. To be a very popular one early on, expected. A lot of expected. Perfect. I don't know if I go perfect. Solid. More expected as well. I think so. Clearly, solid, expected, the two most favorite ones, and then Taco Eater's cheating by saying Ring of Honor, but we'll allow it. It's fine. Fire, adequate, mediocre. Is it really a mediocre win when you win by 23? Is it really mediocre? I don't know. Improved. Damn. Could have been better. All is one word. That's fair. Good game. Fair. Okay. Pray. Oh, I don't mind that one. $5 from Object Pawar. Let Dak keep dealing. Why was the offensive play calling so conservative? Well, we took a step back. Looked like our first half 1-5 offense. You did still throw it a lot on first downs. The real difference in what the Panthers did versus what other teams have done, and it's a good job by Carolina. They've got a really good defensive coordinator. I thought the defense overall for the Panthers played decently. Is they played too high shell coverage like the entire time. And that the whole purpose of that defense is to keep everything in front of you. And the way you beat that shell coverage looks are to run the football, which they didn't do that much, and do short passing games. That's what's open. You can't, against for the most part, outside of a blown coverage, etc., against that shell coverage, it's really tough to take big shot plays. One of the plays you can do it on, the tight end seam you saw from Dak to Luke Schoonmaker for the score. So that was taking what the defense gives you. The purpose of those shell coverages are to force long, sustained drives that make you pick up a bunch of third downs, and they did that decently for the most part. Wasn't none of the same big chunk plays, but Carolina went into that game saying, we're not going to allow the big chunk play. And for the most part, they took away the explosives, and the end result was a lot more short yardage stuff. Dak was pretty accurate again. Took advantage of what they had, made the occasional chunk play, got some flags there when they saw some two-shell coverage stuff. So that's a big reason why. Now, they've always had issues with those because that's what the best defenses try to do, is take away the explosive plays with that shell coverage stuff. So I'll give Carolina some credit on that front. Let's grade Mike McCarthy this year. A, B, C, D, or F. 19% say A. 65% say B, 14% say C, 2% say D or F. I am of the mindset that it was somewhere in the B plus A minus range. The last couple weeks, definitely an A. First few weeks, didn't love as much. So I guess B plus-ish, trending up towards being a full-fledged A. Moody says C plus, Miguel says A, Chris says C plus. William says C. Kathy says B. Suave says B. Bryce Object say B. Bruno says a C. Patrick Gang says B plus. Let's see. David B says B. Ted the Legend. Brian says A. Ted the Legend and Nick all say B plus. So mostly B pluses, mostly A's. With a handful of C's and I guess the occasional D or F, which I don't know. I think you can't give a 7-3 coach a D or an F. That kind of seems a little bit crazy to me. But keep the comments coming. Grade Mike McCarthy so far this year, A, B, C, D, or F. Today's live Cowboys Report is made possible by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account and redeem code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. With today's show also made possible by Prize Picks. Although my streak is over, 5 weeks in a row that came crashing down this week, you can go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and in the description of today's show for both Prize Picks and for Game Time. Cowboys have a tight turnaround this week. They're now going to play on Thursday against the Commanders on Thanksgiving, which we will be live for, don't worry. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys beating the Commanders? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. You're 11-point home favorites. So once again, you're a 2-score favorite in this easier stretch of games you've got going on right now. 9, 8, 8, 9.69, 9, 9, 10, 8, 10, 9, 7, 6.5, 7, 6, 9. 7, 10, 7, 6, 10, 8, 7, 11, 8.5, 9, 10, 10, 8, 10, 4, 7.5, 6.9 plus 3, so, 9.9. 9, 8, 9, 9.2, 869, I think is the good one to end on that front. Now, Cowboys are favored. It's a Thanksgiving game, so those can and probably will get a little bit wonky and wacky. I don't think this is a trap game. I think this is a rivalry game on a short week. So it might look like a trap game, but it's just you've got a tight turnaround against a team that is absolutely desperate following a bad loss to the Giants. So will the Cowboys cover the spread? Y for yes, N for no. I think Moody's right. Division games are tough. And you see, the Commanders have played, I think their point differential in their division games is like 1 score in each of them, I think. Let me double check this. Hold on. Because the Commanders this year have lost to the Giants twice now. They're the one team that gives the Giants have success with. 31-19. So that one wasn't a 1-score game, but also it was in the final moments with the pick 6 kind of icing it. Lost by 7 to the Eagles, 7 to the Giants, and 3 in overtime to the Eagles. So we're talking 28-ish points of their 4 games. So will the Cowboys cover the spread? Y for yes, N for no. Object Pawar, it seemed like the Cowboys were coasting on Sunday to avoid injury. Fourth quarter, yes. Beyond that, I don't really think so. Fourth quarter, they obviously pulled their guys. But I don't think you're going to see I don't think they really coasted. I think that they had a couple rough drives mixed in there. Didn't execute maybe the way they should have. But I don't think they totally coasted from that perspective. So did you enjoy that win over the Carolina Panthers? Like the video if you did. I think every single person should have enjoyed that win. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty, but a win's a win. Like, you're on the road, 1 p.m. game, get in, get the win, get out. That's what they were able to do there. So did you enjoy that win? Like the video. If yes, we are 3 likes away from 69 likes to get today's show going. We blew right by it to 71. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. This is funny, the toxic Tom Downey burner account. Will AT&T have hot water for the Washington football team? Are they going to bring their heated benches again? Maybe the benches can heat up their own hot water. Just a thought. Nothing funnier than the Cowboys. So 2 backgrounds here. Number 1, the Washington Stadium ran out of hot water, because they're a poverty franchise all the way through. They previously, the Cowboys brought their own heated benches to the game against the Commanders because they were told, hey, this stuff doesn't work. So the Commanders got all high and mighty and brought their own benches on the road and then got their asses kicked. I would very much like it if the Cowboys beat the shit out of the Commanders this week. Here's what's coming up on today's live edition of the Cowboys Report. Cowboys news and rumors, the Cowboys Commanders preview, and a mailbag as well. We'll answer all your questions, so get them in via hashtag Cowboys or by super chatting as well. News, rumors, some final thoughts there on the Carolina Panthers, a preview, and a mailbag, all live here on the show. What's coming up on today's Cowboys Report? Some praise for Mike McCarthy, cut candidates to make room for whenever the team decides to activate Peyton Hendershot. Micah Parsons is not slowing down, and one underrated effort I also want to make sure we get some praise to coming out of the Panthers game. Before we do all that, we are 360 subs away from 173K. Can we get there before kickoff of the Thanksgiving game? I think it'd be pretty cool. We'll be live for that, by the way, as well. Hit that sub button right now. Since the bye / since the Chargers game to a slightly lesser extent, the Cowboys have made significant changes to their offense. And these moves, pretty much unanimously, have been for the better. Now, the Wildcat stuff against Carolina, maybe not so much, but everything beyond that, I think, has led to better results. Mike McCarthy has done a good job this season. And yes, to be fair, what matters is the playoffs. But what we've seen so far, the changes Mike have made, I think are for the best. And I've been plenty hard on McCarthy as the Cowboys head coach and frustrated like so many, because fair or not, this entire current team bears the brunt of 28 years of sins from this Cowboys organization. But he does deserve praise for the changes. He could have very easily said, nope, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to listen to the criticisms, from the feedback from some of my players, coaching staff, etc. We're going to stick with slant flats nonstop. Here are the things I have liked. They have increased their motion usage. They have been really good in that area. They've gone from not very good to above average there. They are allowing Dak Prescott to deal, letting him cook and throw it down more, or throw it more downfield, which has been for the best, because that is how this offense wins right now. And most importantly, they're taking plays and designs and concepts from other smart coaches. You remember that inside zone toss play they did with Tony Pollard? That is direct copy-paste from the 49ers game plans. Like, that is what they do. That is a verbatim Shanahan staple of the inside zone toss. They've taken what I call it that cheat motion, when they send the receiver or tight end out wide and they sprint upfield, taken directly from Mike McDaniel this year. I call it cheat motion because that's what Kyle Shanahan called it. It's everywhere right now in the NFL, very popular, but the Cowboys are getting in on the trends, and that makes them a better offense as a result. So grade Mike McCarthy this year. A, B, C, D, or F. It is the pinned comment on today's video. If the ad comes here on YouTube, it's fine. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. A, B, C, D, or F. Let's talk Micah Parsons, who I think pretty clearly is not slowing down, despite what might have been a theory, story, headline leading into the Panthers game. A, he torched the Panthers' bad offensive line for 2.5 sacks. The stat sheet watchers are going to be like, okay, he's back, he's playing well, whatever. For the season, in 10 games played, if you're averaging a sack per game, you're probably doing something right as a defender. 12 tackles for loss, and I would say even most importantly, despite consistently getting doubled and triple teamed, he's averaging nearly 21% pressure rate. That is unbelievably high. When you're winning and getting pressure every 5th time you run, knowing not every single snap is going to be a full-on blitz and it's a pass rush play because you're out there on 2nd and 4, and it ends up being a pass play, crazy impressive. Here is the pressure rate by game. 23% against the Giants, 19.4 against the Jets, 17 against Arizona. He cooked the Patriots, 37%. That's absurd. Bad game against the Niners, 6.9, which is nice, but also not nearly nice enough. 16.3 against the Chargers, 20% against the Rams, 22.2% against the Eagles, and 21.1% against the Giants, which that's when, is he slowing down because he didn't have any sacks. They make a stat sheet because the Cowboys used him differently, but still generated pressures. That's actually very consistent. It's not slowing down. It's being steady and solid. And then he had 30% against Carolina. All of these are insane pressure rates. Like, a good player, if you're getting a pressure rate 15% of the time, you're going to kind of be in the Pro Bowl conversation more often than not. And Micah, 15% is a bad game for him. It's absurd how good he is in that area. So this year, only on what they've done this season, who has been the best player on the Cowboys? Several options here. I think DaRon Bland is in that conversation. CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott's played super well. Brandon Aubrey might be an all-pro kicker this season. Who has been the best player on the Cowboys this year? Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. I'm a big fan of Prize Picks. I like that it's just you against the numbers. You are not battling thousands of other players, the pros, the sharks, etc. It's just more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. You can mix and match NFL, college football, NFL, NBA over the course of a day or a week or whatever. Have some fun doing it there. And I love the flex play. Unfortunately, the flex play did not save me this week. I had 5 straight Sunday flex plays in a row. I got Stroud right. I felt so good about CeeDee Lamb, and then they didn't get him going. And then Sam Howell against the bad Giants defense had another pick down the stretch. Came up 5 yards short, or 4.5 yards short, I should say, to getting that one there. So didn't quite get it done, but I've been on a heater, and I'm playing with plenty of money thanks to our deal from Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. I wanted to check in on the Peyton Hendershot status. He is eligible to come off of IR at any point. He was designated to return from injured reserve last week, has begun practicing. He says he's good to go. Cowboys have not brought him back yet. I guess there's a chance they bring him back this week, but on the short week, I would guess that since we're going to get to the first week on Wednesday, then if it's second week and third week beyond that, probably more likely before the Seahawks game or after the Seahawks game, he ends up coming back. Also buys the Cowboys time to potentially, which you don't want to have, but have something pop up to where there's an open roster spot that you wouldn't have to potentially cut somebody, because as of right now, somebody would have to go off the active roster. You saw last week, Le'Veon Fehoko had a knee issue and then was placed on IR because they were managing the numbers the way smart teams do. So name a player who you think gets cut to make room for Peyton Hendershot when he returns. I've got 5 guys we'll get to here momentarily, but I want to hear from you in the comments section. First one is going to be Sean McEwen, the tight end, who, look, do you need 4 tight ends on the roster? I'm not so sure. Now, McEwen helps you on special teams. That's a factor in this conversation. But McEwen is tight end 3 right now, and I think would become tight end 4 whenever Hendershot ends up returning. He's an okay blocker. I think he's better than Hendershot in that area. But if you're going to bring back Peyton, you don't necessarily need 4 tight ends. Other players who have not been active as of late also stand out. There's Eric Scott Jr., the cornerback, who has yet to play in a single football game this season, the regular season, I guess I should say, for the Cowboys. But Dallas loves their draft picks. They traded up to get Eric Scott, which makes me think if they decide to not, keep him on the active roster, I tweaked his knee, his ankle at practice, got to go to IR now. Wouldn't be shocked if that was the case there. Noah Igbenogany, meanwhile, the cornerback. Kind of a similar boat right now. He hasn't played for the Cowboys since that 49ers game. When Deshaun Wright came off of injured reserve, he immediately surpassed Igbenogany as a cornerback option. They've been playing Israel Mukuamu more. He's even got some outside cornerback reps, by the way, too. So you can cut him, but you're not going to save any money because his deal's already fully guaranteed. Deuce Vaughn falls into the Eric Scott combo, although at least he's played more than Scott has this season. But he's kind of only active right now if Kevontae Turpin isn't. Cowboys view that role as a little bit too similar as a return man and just doesn't offer enough non-return special teams. But again, Cowboys love their draft picks. Tyrus Wheat, meanwhile, I think of the 4 guys on this list, would be the easiest to get to the practice squad. Maybe Igbenogany gets down there as well if you wanted to as a veteran, kind of like Kelvin Joseph got cut and wasn't claimed by anybody. Wheat's a UDFA, hasn't done really anything on defense this year, only contributes on special teams. Dallas fully values him in that role, but if you bring back Hendershot, he would also probably be active in playing on special teams from that perspective. Some unlikely cuts then for the Dallas Cowboys. Awesome Richards, he's a draft pick offensive lineman. You simply cannot cut those guys. Jalen Brooks, the wide receiver. he's actually been playing some of the. And Nashawn Wright, I want to mention him as the other cornerback option, but I wouldn't be too concerned on that front. Do want to give one more player some love here, and that is Luke Schoonmaker, sticking on the tight end standpoint here. He had, I think, pretty clearly was his best game ever as a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Caught 2 passes for 23 yards, had a touchdown, and also very much under the radar, by the way, had a really good run-blocking game. He was effective, efficient, and solid in that area, and I think that should not be overlooked. Now, I don't want my second pick to just be a good run blocker, but for contributing now, that's how you're going to get help in that category. Give me your one-word reaction to the win over the Carolina Panthers. I'll give some shout-outs here, and we'll hit some of the super chats as well from that perspective that have come in. Trying to pop my back a little bit. Okay. Someone says, Jimmy, expected. I think expected's a good word. You were expected to win. You should get credit somewhat at least for taking care of business from that perspective. Expected, okay, wow. Next, I got some injury stuff I want to add to the show here. Can you just go dual cam here and give some shout outs, producer Chris? Well, I'm just going to build these real quick. I'll just build out a listicle while we do it here. Mostly minor stuff here. Rico Dowdle, again, estimated practice today. Rico Dowdle did not participate. J-Ron Kearse did not participate with a back and ankle for Dowdle. Kearse, I think, will probably be okay. It's probably more of a veteran day there. Lamb was limited with an ankle, but he played through it. He'll be fine. Terrence still with an ankle as well. So get some shout-outs here on this front, producer Chris.
Here we go. Keep getting those one-word reactions in. Let's see what we got in the chat right now. Zio saying expected. I think that's the best one that you can say. It should absolutely be expected. The Panthers were not good. But, at the end of the day, it's not like they didn't play hard. They played as hard as any team is going to play. They're just not as good. That just is what it is.
A lot of stupid mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. Miguel says next. I like that, 24-hour rule. We're still there. Well, no, I guess we're past. It's 4 o'clock right now. I'd say you're winding down on the 24-hour rule right now.
Yeah, we're kind of up against it a little bit, but I still think we should count it.
Yeah. Bland, love what he's done this year. Preston saying underwhelming.
Inconsistent maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You still won by 23. Like it's not easy to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was, the beginning of the game. It wasn't necessarily close, but it was closer than you would necessarily like.
And you did get bailed out by some correctly called penalties.
Yeah, and then that interception really just turned everything on its head. That pick six.
You went touchdown from Dak, then touchdown by Deron Bland, and just like that, the game was kind of over real quick, which is fun. I like it that way.
Let's see. TKG saying just straight up W, like that. Yee Caw, satisfying. That's a good one. Old School Doug says practice. Let's see.
I just put a list 6 at the bottom if you want to check that real quick for me. Before people freak out about all the injury stuff that isn't that big of a deal. We'll put it right. There we go. Put it just like that. All right, more shout-outs here. Practice. Okay, that was awesome. I don't know about Super Bowl. Next is a good one word. Oh, I got to get the title in there. That's fine. I'll do that. Let's get to the super chats that have come in here as well. Then we'll get to our preview, which does feature some injury news on the Cowboys. I would not panic on many of those things. Remember, it's Monday, and it's basically Wednesday for the Cowboys from a practice perspective. K-Dog, how can we get more consistent through 4 quarters? Everyone wants more consistency. The reality is in the NFL, you're not going to be consistent every quarter. You're never going to play your A game in each mark because the other team plays well too sometimes. You've already set your single season high or tied it, I think, or most in like 40 years, whatever it is, for biggest blowouts of 20-plus point wins. That's consistency. So the key is to not make the mistakes that have killed you, get off the field on defense, take those leads and play to your advantages. But honestly, compared to most teams, they've actually been pretty consistent so far this year. But again, the goal is to be top 4 or higher, so the bar is quite high. Leroy Pearson Jr., in all honesty, what are our chances in December against Buffalo, Miami, and Detroit? Which upcoming game might be a trap game? I think you got rivalry game this week against the Commanders. I think you've got a under-the-radar, still tough game against Seattle because you get the full week of rest, but you're coming off of another Thursday night game, so it's not easy, that timing there. Then you kind of settle in a little bit from that standpoint. Buffalo's not been that great. Miami is kind of but more Eastern, where they're great against bad teams and have like a more normal team against the best top-end talent. The Lions, I don't think are a great match for you on offense, but they're also not a great match for you on defense. So both offenses could score a bunch in that football game. If honestly, including the Eagles game that's mixed in there, if you can go 2-2, that's a pretty realistic and also still good outcome. That means you would have beaten two playoff teams. Might not be enough to win the division in that time frame. Might kind of be costing yourself there. But in theory, you're at that point staring down the barrel of going 12-5. And that's pretty good season. Leroy Pearson Jr. Could Scott be Lewis's replacement for next season? I wonder if he's Nashawn Wright's replacement in the more short term of like the backup corner. I don't think they're going to put Scott in the nickel. Maybe they'll try that, see how it goes. But I think next year your plan is Diggs and Bland on the outside. Maybe you go find the new nickel. Maybe that could be Eric Scott, but I view him more as an outside guy. From Justin, is there a good chance the Lions get the number 1 seed? Would rather play them instead of Philly, the Niners, in the divisional, assuming Dallas is the 5 seed. There is a chance of that. I mean, the Eagles lose tonight against the Chiefs, and all of a sudden, the Lions are tied for the lead, basically. I will say this. You don't want to play that game too much because you just don't know how it's all going to play out in the final weeks of the season. Control what you can control. Get to the 5 seed as best as possible. If you can get the division, even better. That's going to save you a chance of having to go on the road at least against San Francisco or Detroit, which would be a very loud environment because they'll be in the playoffs for the first time in a long time, it feels like. So if you're the 5 seed, look, I think you can beat any of those teams, but I don't want to play San Francisco because you can't beat them. You haven't beat them yet. I've done it in a while. Lions you've beaten. Eagles you've beaten. Even if it's a different Detroit team, to be fair, since the last time you played them, which was kind of that turning point. Detroit's been awesome since you beat them last season. But it's going to see what happens. You're going to have to play some tough games. That's no matter what, that's going to be the outcomes. Chris B. just got here, but since I've killed Big Mike, now I got to give him credit. He hasn't let his ego get in the way. He for sure changed the offense. Totally agree. What you have seen this year from Mike McCarthy, I do think is worthy of praise and credit, etc. He has done a good job of making sure that the Cowboys have, not overlooked things and allowed themselves to get over their skis. And the changes he's made, you're right. It has allowed them to be more impactful, to be more aggressive, and it's led to a better result. Instead of sticking with the things that he wants to do, Mike has made adjustments. I think that is a very big deal for the Cowboys moving forward. We're going to preview the Cowboys-Commanders game and break down the latest injury news on Dallas. Don't panic on that front. If you want the Cowboys to beat those commies in Washington, then like the video right now. It should be every single person watching who likes today's video. The Cowboys back at home, as they always are, for Thanksgiving Day, hosting the Washington Commanders. They are an 11-point favorite at home. That is another game in which it's a double-digit spread in favor of Dallas. The over-under set at 48.5. The Cowboys have the number 2 overall scoring offense. That is inflated a little bit by the defensive success, but you can use stuff like yards and EPA and go, okay, this is a team that's had a lot of success on offense really since the bye from that perspective. It's been beneficial for the Cowboys. I'll also make note their defense has played well. Meanwhile, the Commanders, the offense is average. The defense is bad. Also doesn't help when you have chaos agent Sam Howell, who makes some plays for both sides of the ball, which we will discuss later on in today's show. First, the last 5 games for the Dallas Cowboys. The Chargers, they won 2017. Then they hit the bye. 43 against the Rams, 23 in a loss against Philly, 49 against the Giants, and 33 against the Panthers. They've gotten hot a little bit. They probably should have beaten Philly, but still, you go 4-1 in your last 5 games. That works really well until you get to playoff time when you got to win a bunch in a row. The Commanders are the inverse. 7-point loss against the Giants, 7-point loss against the Eagles, 3-point win over New England, a 3-point loss on a buzzer beater against the Seahawks, and they had a chance to beat the Giants and then could not finish off the drive. And Sam Howell picked 6, and the 1-score loss becomes a 2-score loss down the stretch. Some injury news and notes I do want to make note of here. Cowboys estimated a walkthrough on Monday because they're not actually practicing today because they play on Thursday, just got back, so it's a very, very light day. Oso Odighizuwa still battling a hamstring. He was a full participant. So too is Kevontae Turpin coming off of his shoulder injury. 2 players were limited. Terrence Steele with an ankle and CeeDee Lamb with an ankle. You kind of saw Lamb getting up a little bit slow in that game at one point. Normally, we'll call this the Wednesday participation report because you're playing on Thursday. Limited on Wednesday means you'll be able to go. I have very limited concerns, low concerns on Terrence Steele and on CeeDee Lamb. Jaron Kearse did not participate with a back injury. Now, he's missed some Wednesdays before and was able to play. So I think Kearse and Dowdle are the ones to monitor here. I'm not surprised Dowdle was so light on the workload side because he's been battling that ankle, and the Cowboys will try to keep him limited. And if those going to get some limited stuff in Tuesday, Wednesday, they'll be fine. I'll be blown away if guys like Lamb and Steele aren't playing from that perspective. The Cowboys are going to keep their practices light and easy. There's too many games, too short time to say otherwise. So Rico Dowdle, playing through that ankle injury, he's not going to do a ton of practice. Tyron Smith was not on the injury report. It'll probably be more walkthrough stuff Tuesday, Wednesday. There's not going to be a bunch of real practices. When they do real stuff, he's going to be limited. The Cowboys will manage his reps as they should be doing to make sure he's as healthy as humanly possible. So what is your confidence level in the Cowboys beating the Commanders? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. It's today's pinned comment. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. The first key to victory is let Dak deal. This has been the best offensive success so far this season, and I think we'll get to see some more of that moving forward here. The last 10 games played by the this season, I should say, from Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, 70.1% completion rate, 2,600 passing yards, 141 rushing yards, 21 total scores, 6 total touchdowns. Entering Monday Night Football, Jalen Hurts has the chance to surpass him, of course, but he's also played one more game. So they played even games now. Dak has the NFC's lead in touchdown passes. Seems significant to mention. Meanwhile, the Commanders' defense is not very good. In EPA, it's expected points added. How healthy, how successful, efficient is your pass defense? Just an overall standpoint. Not very good. The Commanders are 30th in pass defense. It's been putrid. It's been really bad this season because they've got a lot. Now they're down their top 2 pass rushers. Let Dak deal. Against the Commanders in his career, 64.6% in 11 games played, 2,500 plus passing yards, 296 yards on the ground, 23 scores, and 7 turnovers. It's been quite impressive for Dak Prescott, as when the Cowboys have a healthy Dak Prescott out there, the results are really good against the NFC East. 12-2 against Giants, 12 straight wins, by the way. 9-2 against the Commanders, although the Commanders did beat Dallas last time these two teams played. And 8-4 against the Eagles. He can get his 30th win over division rivals this Thanksgiving. That's something to certainly be thankful for. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big events. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They've got last-minute killer deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. To put it succinctly, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, and kind of like a live photo. You can turn it left, turn it right, up, down, whatever, and get a good feel for what your seat is actually going to look like. I'm a big fan of their zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats. On average, 18% savings. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CowboysChat. That's COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but create your account and download at GameTime.co and use code CowboysChat. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. We appreciate Game Time sponsoring us here at the Cowboys Report. Second key to victory, this is kind of weird, but I'll explain it. Win the chaos battle. Sam Howell is the number one chaos agent in the NFL right now. He makes a bunch of plays, and he also makes a bunch of weird mistakes that are just like head-scratching, like, what are you seeing and or what are you doing out there, my guy, that made you make that decision? Sam Howell truly is a chaos agent in football in a not exactly, sometimes positive, sometimes not positive way. It makes it entertaining, at least. And the Cowboys are able to generate some chaos as well. For the season, Sam Howell has already passed the 3,000-yard mark, despite his yards per attempt being lower than Dak Prescott because he's thrown a lot more passes. His touchdowns, he has 20 this year, also tied for the league lead in interceptions. The interception ratio is not as high because, again, he's thrown it more, so that's just kind of how it goes from that perspective. Look at some of the advanced numbers now for Sam Howell. He's 19th in EPA per play, so fine for a year two quarterback, 21st in QBR. Here's where he has issues. Leads the NFL in interceptions. His pressure to sack ratio is 26%. That is tied for fourth. And he has 5 fumbles this year. That is 11. Now, he's only lost 2 of them, but it's been 5 times that ball's been on the ground. There is the opportunity to make big plays happen. And those often come via pressure chances. That is where the Cowboys can have success. That's key to victory number 3, is pressure Sam Howell. Sam Howell holds the ball too long. He's gotten better the past few weeks. The Commanders have gone more quick game. They're going to have to do quick game against the Dallas Cowboys as well. But this is not a good offensive line depth chart in Washington. Chris Paul, Tyler Larson. That is where you're going to line up Micah Parsons. Just like you did against Carolina, you're going to stunt and attack the left guard and the center. So Micah, Osa, Tank Lawrence, Armstrong, Williams, Fowler. Mozzie Smith had 2 pressures against the Panthers even. This is a game that Micah should be able to feast, lined up over that center guard combination, doing some stunts, doing some loops, winning the rare one-on-one battles he gets, drawing double, triple teams. This should be a fun game for Micah up front, wreaking havoc on Sam Howell. Key to victory number 4. It's Thanksgiving. Make sure you feed your lamb. Doesn't actually work at all, but I'm going to go with it anyway. You didn't do that great against the Panthers, but lamb should be feasting on Thanksgiving. The Commanders have no one that can cover him one-on-one. They drafted Emmanuel Forbes in the first round. He's basically been benched like 3 of his last 4 games. Fuller's fine. This is not a loaded Commanders secondary. You should be able to get favorable matchups for CeeDee Lamb, whether it's Danny Johnson, Benjamin St-Juste, Kendall Fuller, Emmanuel Forbes, whoever it is out there. Lamb should have success. Prediction time. Who scores the first touchdown of the game for the Cowboys against the Commanders? Get those predictions in for me right now. Number 5, you got to survive the short week. This is not an easy situation to be in. Thanksgiving games are tough. You go from Sunday on the road, Thursday at home. That's challenging. And the Thanksgiving games often have some chaos that are mixed in there, right? You held on against the Giants last year, 28-20. You had the ref show nightmare against the Raiders in 2021. utterly ridiculous. The refs handed the Raiders a win. You had the disastrous Andy Dalton game against the Commanders in 2020, bad game against the Bills in 2019, beat the Commanders in 2018, win the game. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's a short week. Those are often ugly, sloppy football games. Get in, avoid injuries, and get the win. We will be live for the Cowboys-Washington football game on Thanksgiving, so hit that sub button so you don't miss out and come have some fun with us on Thanksgiving. We'll go quick here on the top 5 players to watch. Number 5 is Deron Bland, the all-pro caliber corner. He's got 4 pick sixes this year. You know he wants another one, right? He has scored more touchdowns on defense than he has allowed this year. It's not just the INTs, the pick sixes. He's allowing 46.8% completion rate for 231 yards. This is not just, all-pro level play. This is starting to border on Defensive Player of the Year, honor nominees. Not the hype's not there, but Bland has been special this season. I will do it again with player number 4, Osa Odigizua. The first 6 games, playing some great football. 18 pressures, 21 tackles, 5 TFLs, 3 sacks. The last 4 games, 6 pressures, 7 tackles, 1 TFL, no sack. Now, the hamstring has been bothering him a little bit, to be fair. Almost had a sack against the Panthers, but it kind of freed up somebody else and the other person got home. But I need more from Osa. Bad center, bad left guard. Get home, get after Howe. So will the Dallas Cowboys cover the spread this week? Y for yes, N for no in the comments section. Number 3, Jake Ferguson. They might bring back Cody Barton. He's been designated to return. I doubt it. He's also not very good at linebacker. Cameron Curl's a nice piece who can do some fun things for you. But that secondary, again, they're near the bottom in terms of defensive success rates, etc. in coverage. I think Fergie can have a nice big game for you. You've seen the Cooks game. You saw the Lamb games. I wouldn't be that shocked. You saw Schoonmaker score one last week. Wouldn't be shocked if they go back to Ferguson this matchup. Brandon Cooks, let's put him on here again. I want to keep featuring him. He was their leading receiver last week, technically, which is 2 weeks in a row he's done that. As good as Lamb has been, actually was Cooks' leading receiver 2 weeks in a row. They're getting him more involved. They're not only are getting more involved, the plays they're trying to work to draw for him have worked. I think that's a big deal for Dallas. Again, bad secondary. Let's get Cooks going. Finally, I would like to see some more results from Tony Pollard. Against the Commanders, with 2 stout defensive linemen in Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, in an ideal world, you're able to get to the edges more. And I think the Cowboys have straight up stolen plays from Shanahan of that inside zone toss play, the wind back with Hunter Lipke as the lead blocker. All that stuff's great. Keep doing more of that. And in addition to some of those like wind back plays, the next pivot off of that is some outside toss plays with some lead blockers and some misdirection. I would not be surprised if we see more of that against the Commanders this week. Who you got winning? DAL for the Cowboys, WAS for the Washington Commies. I will continue to call them the Commies because I do not respect them. They are a poverty franchise. How do you not have hot water working in your stadiums and locker room? Same stadium that once rained poop on people, not kidding, and almost murdered Jalen Hurts because the banners just fell on him. Poverty franchise. DALWAS. No surprise here. It is very heavy on the DALs. Should be a good game. I think the Commanders are going to compete and fight and claw, but because they're desperate, because if they lose this game, it's going to be a long couple days. They play like one game in like their next 3 weeks after this, something ridiculous. Like they've got they go the mini bye Sunday, actual bye week game. So that they don't play very much football, which means be a lot of hand wringing because they have the Dolphins after this. If they lose to Miami, I don't think the head coach would make I don't think the owner would make a change, but they'd be out of the playoff race basically. End their season. I would like that. It is mailbag time here on the show. 2 ways to get on. Number 1, use hashtag Cowboys, or like Elmatic7 just did, you can super chat. We'll get that super and some of the other good ones here on today's show. Get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys or super chat to get on the mailbag. This Cowboys Report mailbag is made possible by Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming technology. I'm thankful for them. So is my wife. You can just ask her. Head over to manscaped.com and use promo code Cowboys for 20% off and free shipping. Some super thanks I want to get to here. From Jeff Watson, sacrifice Rowdy at Jimmy Johnson's Ring of Honor induction equals a guaranteed Super Bowl victory. I tweeted this out. I stand by it. Jeff knows ball better than everybody else on here. This is a great idea, Jeff. Rowdy is a curse. He is a plague upon our houses. He has done nothing but reap famine and drought for Cowboys Nation. If you agree and you think Rowdy is a curse, type in Y for yes. Or if you disagree, because this is America, we believe in democracy, you can type in N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Marcus Arnold, another super thanks. If you can see my previous statements that I told you we don't have a lot of picks. I love being right. I think we are all glad that Marcus is right because Deron Bland has played some awesome football here. These both came in via super thanks. It's a feature on YouTube that allows you to donate outside of live videos. Click the thanks icon, edit your message, send it on in. We appreciate your support here at the Cowboys Report. Every super thanks, we will give you guys a shout out. Brian Parson says, if Philadelphia wins today, there's no catching them. Go Chiefs. We'll see what happens since this is a mailbag that will go out on Wednesday after the game is played. But I am curious to see how the Eagles fare against Kansas City. Elmatic 7. Do you think that teams are able to run on us so easily because we're playing Bell, a safety, at inside linebacker? The front is also leaving big gaps up front. I thought Hankins did not have his best stuff against Canada. I thought he got turned way too many times. It's multiple things. You had some of your defensive linemen getting turned. Bell tackles well. So it's not the size issue. It's that at times, as good as Marquise Bell has been overall this season, he will take some bad lanes. There were a couple times in that game he did not fill the gap properly. His run fit was off, led to some big chunk plays. And when you're going with a four-man front against five blockers, your linebacker has to help fill that other open spot. The Cowboys' best success as a run defense is that bear front. They'll go five guys across the front, Micah at linebacker. I think you'll see more of that moving forward this season. Abja Pawar, let Dak keep dealing. Why was the offensive play calling so conservative? They took a step back with our first half, weeks 1 to 5 offense. That's what the Panthers almost made you do. When you are in that shell coverage stuff, the things that are open are runs, which you ran the ball decently. You ran it effectively for the most part beyond the stupid Wildcat stuff, and short passes. You can take some seam shots, etc. There were some drops on some of your more downfield contested catch stuff. The Panthers did a good job defensively, and they've got a pretty solid defense. Ejiro Evero is going to be a head coach, I think, at some point in the NFL. He is that caliber of defensive mind. He's really good. But they took away the deep shot plays. That's what the good teams are going to do against you. So you still scored a bunch of points. You weren't as dynamic, but you also don't want to force shot plays into double coverage against shell coverage. That's not going to lead to good results. So I get why they did it this week. It's what the Panthers were trying desperately to make Dallas do. And outside of some blown coverages, some nice combo routes, Panthers did a good job. Dallas was just better. Josh Little, why has no one signed La'el Collins? He's not healthy. / he's asking for too much money and isn't ready to go. He had workouts. The Jets and Giants, two of the most injury-filled offensive lines in the NFL, brought him in for a visit. And then it has been radio silent on Collins since then. I don't think those visits went that whether it was because of money, health, or whatever. So would you add La'el Collins? At least let's say Cowboys practice squad, since those are easy to fill. It's the pinned comment on today's video. S for sign, P for path. From Vince, assume the Cowboys finish with the 5 seed. What is the most doable, realistic path to the Super Bowl? At Saints, at Lions, at Eagles. Probably what it would have to be. I don't think the Seahawks are going to catch the 49ers or beat them in the postseason. So I would assume as the 5 seed, you got to beat the 4 seed in New Orleans. You got to beat and then 2 of the top 3 seeds, which is, I don't want to play San Francisco. I want to avoid them. They own us. Lions, Eagles. Like, I think you're right. Maybe it's Eagles, Lions flip potentially, but I think that's your most realistic and doable path. Elmatic 7, speculative question. Why aren't we as good on the road? Most teams aren't as good on the road. You're traveling, you're playing in front of a road environment. It's just tougher on you. NFL players get jet lag too sometimes. It's a tougher environment. There's a reason why the home team gets some points from Vegas, right? It's a 3-point boost. It's kind of a lot in the NFL, somewhere in that range. So, you're maybe it's some bad weather, or maybe your left tackle slept right on his neck and he got hurt again on the road. This year you've kind of had some bad luck with, like, you were down 3 linemen against Arizona. It happens. You played like shit against San Francisco. So most teams aren't as good on the road. Doomsday 4.0. I don't think this year is as bad as they get. They are a very good team. They have got caught napping on 2 of the 3 losses. I mean, you laid an egg against San Francisco, no doubt about that one. And then Arizona. I still think for the Arizona game, you were down 3 linemen. That's tough to win. Now, you still should have won, and they did get caught napping on defense in particular in that game. The offensive issues kind of chalk up to some bad blocking up front. But yeah, look, if I had told you entering Thanksgiving you're 7-3, I think almost every single person would have said, you know what? That's good enough for me. That's a really good start to our season. Today's show is made possible by Manscaped. If you're ready to spice up your Thanksgiving as we dive headfirst into mountains of mashed potatoes, and for some people, not me, cranberry sauce, it's time to talk about the unsung hero of the holiday season, the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Go cold turkey on your old razor and take care of your own turkey leg. Get it? With the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Visit manscaped.com and use code COWBOYS for 20% off and free shipping. Enjoy Thanksgiving in style with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, and make sure the turkey isn't the only thing gobbling this holiday season. That one might be too far, but I liked it anyway. It's still funny for me. Get 20% off and free shipping with code COWBOYS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping by using promo code COWBOYS at manscaped.com. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. The gobble part might have been a little bit too far, but I thought that was really funny. Will Marshall, $2 super chat. Take the Wildcat and erase it from the playbook. Didn't work at all. 2 plays like negative 10 yards, which, you take away that from your ground game, you're in the ball great, but you can't do that quite necessarily 1-to-1. So yeah, I agree, Will. As always, spot on. Joseph Ian Torres, would you say the defense should start games with the bare front, he's against the Giants, against good ground team? Switch nickel looks on pass favorable downs. I think so. I think you have to kind of do it more of a situational football. Like you still have to align to your personnel. That's what makes him like the Niners so dangerous. The Niners can come out there in 11 personnel with McCaffrey and Kittle and run the ball down your throats, and you're going to want to be in 11 personnel. You're going to be in nickel to match them. You can't quite do your bare front that way. That's what makes them really challenging. But against the Commanders, if teams come out in 2 tight ends, I'm going to that bare front every time. So I think when it's obvious run spots, Joseph, that's what I'm going to do. I think that'll lead to more success. Leroy Pearson Jr., how many Pro Bowlers do you see on this roster? The Pro Bowl's weird because a lot of players get in these days because people, I'll put it this way. Dak will be a Pro Bowler. Dak will not go. Remember, it was not last year, the year before that. He was invited to the Pro Bowl. He's like, nah, I'm just not going to go. And it was like, wait a minute. How did Kirk Cousins go? It's like, but Dak said no already. How did Gino go? Dak said no already. So Lamb will be one. Tyron Smith will probably be one. Whether or not he goes, he's not going to go. Tyler Smith could be one. Zach Martin will win one out of by default. That's how that tends to go. straight up. Pollard won't be. Dowdle won't be. Dak will be. Tank Lawrence probably won't be. Micah will be. Deron Bland definitely will be. And your kicker, Brandon Aubrey, will end up being one as well. Sam Jones, who is actually wide receiver 3 on this team? Yes, is my answer. Depends on the game. They've used Tolbert more. They gave Gallup some more run. I thought he played pretty well past few games. When he's not being force-fed all the targets, I think better things happen. Pick a wide receiver. Who do you think is wide receiver thing? I think it's a combination to an extent here. JT for Jalen Tolbert, MG for Michael Gallup, or KT for Kavontae Turpin. Sound off in the comments section. Elmatic 7. What are our chances of wild card on the road? You're going to be favored against the Saints, Bucks, or Falcons. You'll be favored. Got to get the win still, but you will be the favored team in that game. From Mark, Tom, this game is what I mean by inconsistent. Panthers missing their top 2 corners, and your leading receiver had 42 yards. Should have been a blowout. D was good. I get it. A couple notes here. You did benefit from some correctly called penalties. You know, the Panthers in total had 90 yards of flags, several of which came on downfield pass interference plays. But you also had the single biggest margin of victory in the NFL this week. And that's like not good enough. I get that the fourth quarter they ran away with the kind of like the Colts game last season. And yeah, but the Panthers, their entire plan was we're not going to allow you to air it out downfield. That was their entire game plan the entire way. Defense played great, make no mistake about it. Offense didn't have the same number of plays it normally does. They kind of regressed for a little bit in the first half to like normal third down rates, then kind of got going later on. And there are some things to be worried about, make no mistake about it. But in a road game, you win by 23, you never trail. I know it's a bad football team, but you know, the Lions almost lost against the Bears, and they're a bad football team who barely beat Carolina. I'm just going to take the win and get out of there and enjoy it. We will be live for the Cowboys against the Commanders on Thanksgiving Day. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. Brian Parson, who gets the turkey legs, I think he means, on Thursday. Go Cowboys. Give me CeeDee Lamb and Deron Bland. I know Micah wants it, though. But if Deron Bland gets another pick 6 against Chaos Agent Sam Howell, he's going to get it. Lance Dunbar's burner. Aubrey missing the extra point proves that kickers once again aren't people. Congrats, Tom. Also, it seemed like he took the gimme for granted. I don't know. You're going to miss kicks. You're never going to be perfect from that perspective. So, yeah, I do think that's very fair. Brokov, if Dak wins MVP, shouldn't Mike be Coach of the Year? If Dak wins MVP, that probably means the Cowboys won the NFC East and maybe got the number 1 seed, in which case he's going to be in the conversation. Now, Mike McDaniel, Dan Campbell, etc. might be in that conversation. Well, Andy Reid's always in it. But if all those things happens, yeah, Mike should be in that conversation. So grade Mike McCarthy this year. A, B, C, D, or F. It is the pin poll right now. 19% say A, 64% say B, 16% say C, and 2% say D. I think it's at least a B plus on that front. I think it's really impressive there. We will not loop today. I want to kind of refilm the rumors news portion to get the injury stuff in there. Keep that in mind. So grade Big Mike this year. A, B, C, D, or F. I got D's. I got a D in there. 7 and 3. Now, if you want to say, you know, better than Garrett, but Garrett's a low bar, I get that. That's fine, but I don't know. Like, I mean, if we're giving Mike a B, what are we going to give Brandon Staley? Like, right? What are we going to give Ron Rivera? I mean, I think he's at least met the expectations, right? I think that makes sense. We will be live again on Thursday for the Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. Then we'll get to Ecuador Man's Super Chat. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys videos every single day. Ecuador Man, You've played 2 winning teams that are 0-2. This is accurate. You will play several down the stretch. So, I don't know. I think it's weird that only some teams get this argument. Like, the Eagles do great against winning teams. That's fine. But they also won a bunch of games against winning teams and or playoff teams last year. So, the idea that, okay, 2 sample size, that's it, I don't get it. They have to prove it, that's fine. They have to win playoff games. All that's accurate. They'll get their chances. And we'll see if somehow the Chargers or Rams backdoor their way into being 9-8 this year. They might just do it. Ironically, again, it makes it funny because if they'd lost those games, well, it's kind of the nature of when you get a very specific stat like this. If you had lost to the Rams, they would be 5-5. So they would have been winless 0-3 against 500 teams. That'd be the stat that would get played out there. Like, oh, they're 0-3 against 500 teams. That'd be the number that would be. Actually, the Chargers too. They'd lost those games. They'd be 0-4 against teams that are at 500 or better. It happens. They'll have their chances. Eagles again, Lions, Bills, Dolphins. They'll have chances. They win those games. That'll silence people, and that's what you have to do. Again, folks, sub if you have not already done so. Free Cowboys videos each and every single day right here on the channel.